Let's get ready to still. I invite you to recognize the endlessness of the silence or the stillness of presence. None of these words will improve upon the direct experience that all of these words point to. Let us notice direct experience as an anchor for this. Feel that sense of being. What is that feeling? There's a sense of energy about the body. We can't say nothing is happening. There's a sense of being alive. There's the felt sense in the body as the body is held safely by the seat. As the feet are known by the sensation of them being connected to the ground of being. Sometimes we might say, "Here I am." And the here that we are referring to is this energetic, felt sense of being. How do we know we're being? We are aware that we are being. We are aware that we know we're being. Perhaps we've come here to get something, even if that's just an experience of feeling relaxed while Billy talks in his unique way for a little while, to the identification with and as that personality that in all situations and circumstances appears to never be far from claiming this energetic sense of being as my being, to that pulse, that movement that seems to be a person called me. Only disappointment can be offered. Because even in the experience of getting something from this experience, be it peace, understanding, wisdom, knowledge, some unique insight. Any such experience will be latterly replaced by another experience, perhaps an experience of the return of that sense of seeking and being a seeker. The one thing human beings suffer from is the persistence of an illusion that we are not there yet. wherever and whatever there is, despite our countless attempts to intuit action and undertake paths, programs and processions towards some imagined there desired. We're not even clear where there is. Now we can be very clear that in this approach, there, that the thinker seeks to secure by works and activities, is in fact here, capital H. And this here, the space in which I is known, has never once left. But a seeming trillion times a day, that sense of needing to get there is followed by the movement that undertakes to bring about that there-ness, whether it's the experience of being in a seemingly complex situation, so we might seek to either control the situation and somehow come out as subtly dominant, or whether to flee the situation and escape. Either logical approach are the claims of the seeker, that the mind constructs from thought, feeling, and perception. And if we momentarily scan our entire life history and can see the presence of this undertaking to get there, and maybe we can see we came here tonight to see if we could get there, and see if, as we survey our life script, our life story, whether we have still not finally got there, or there have been pockets or seasons of seeming to be there, sublime intervals where life seemed to be in the right order. Our proverbial ducks were in a row. But that changed, did it not? Because ducks give birth to other ducks, and things are replaced by other things. This is the nature of things. All the money spent and the pain, the suffering, the hope, the rejection, the work, temporary pockets of the glow of love. These are all pointers. They are an obscured refraction of the love we already are, but identified as the claimer and the doer of the thoughts. We are cathected or addicted to the undertaking of seeking and seeker. This separate self seeks, hence the phrase self's seeking. Our every effort to go and find happiness or love or there-ness has obscured the very presence of here or absolute love. We take the body to be that of a human being. The mind appears as the alpha and omega of the functioning of the life story through time and spaces and places. And the presence of the energy of being a person is the subtle way in which we experience a seeming certainty of being me. It would be uncommon to question these assumptions. I am a person, this is my body. I think about these things and I feel like this. So we action the plans and programs. We replace things that don't seem to work anymore with new things, labels, places, relationships, substances, identities, hats, shoes, preferences. And some of us reach a point in life where our resources for actualizing our latest investment dramatically fail. A dark night of the soul, a rock bottom, or the articulation of the thought, I feel like giving up. We might know or know of such affirmations of these rather too common experiences. Naturally, we overlook the seed of transformation inside suffering. We are, of course, as the human animal, as are all animals, as is all life, an expression of knowing of something fundamentally, absolutely good or God. We are not spiritual beings. We are the spirit being. God is knowing God through the human experience. God is having a human experience, to use religious words. And in these empty spaces, in the unknowing of difficulty and paradox and mystery, lay a seed of creative tension, a void, an intense void of nothing, of which the mind, the self, can only articulate as a failure or as destruction, and will either recalibrate to escape failure or it will abandon and dissolve itself into the identity of destruction. Think addiction, drug addiction, alcohol use, compulsive behaviors, relationships. The self will even embody the role of tormented, lone wolf outcast. To be at the limits of our ego sense is to know the experience of no longer having life or me all figured out. It is light illuminating our shadow, a radical collapsing, newly blooming. Human beings have a poor relationship with such stages and states. This upside down economy is the realization that we come to God by getting it wrong and not by doing life right or belonging to the right group or tribe or wearing the right badges and identities or by collecting every last possession we can get our hands on, until one day on the great bed of all closure we can put all our possessions on the bed with us and still not take one single thing with us. We might quit the game of life, mired in the messy sludge of our own shamefaced failings. We foundationally feel falling apart. And where we stumble and fall, we find gold. We are asked to ask larger questions. When the self-assured answers of the egoic, separate, sensed self riotously collapse once and for all, although often there's only a tiny window before this self, this mind, creates, as is its way to create, a new plan. If you ask someone who's expressing feelings of despair and hopelessness, what's the plan? If they have a plan, that plan is their bondage. If, in the rare case, we encounter someone who's broken open by life as life tries to break out of them, and we ask them what's the plan, if they are able to express, I don't know, and such humility is rare or involves incredible broken falling apart, often despair. That I don't know is the planting of the seed. Of falling upwards. For in what is in fact open-heartedness, not open-mindedness, are we made receptive for something other, something new, something previously incalculable to the thinking mind. It has been said that nature abhors a vacuum. A tsunami, in fact, is an opening up of the bottom of the sea, and nature rushes in with water and fills up the space. Similarly, in the falling apart of the separate self and its plans and programs for where happiness, esteem, approval, control can be found by its own activities, in the calamity of such a failing. A cosmic emptiness becomes known, and the thinker, the seeker, doesn't know what to do with this emptiness, perceives its own end, and fills the void with thoughts, with plans, with mental activity, with feelings, with sensations in the body. If we repress such experiences, the body recalibrates, and we may have physical pain. We may certainly become mentally tormented, and our emotions are apt to go awry. We will lose control. But this vacuum, this delicious, vast, silent, still pool of knowing experience is not the tragedy the thinking mind, the seeker and seeking, describes with just another thought and just another thought. In fact, this vast, undivided, absolute spaciousness contains everything, not as separate objects, but as one unlimited reality, just as our universe is an unlimited space filled with objects. So, this pool of thoughtless, feelingless, objectless, experienced grace is love at last. Though we usually don't think so. If we can entertain this invitation, we can search for ourselves, this beingness, spaciousness that we know in between these words, in periods of so-called meditation. These are the same states brought about by the use of substances. We usually describe such states as shutting up the mind or self-medicating. We usually attribute, certainly with the misuse of chemicals. But this counter-intuition, this upside-down economy, this expression of falling upwards, is to consider the invitation to look and see for ourselves, if in fact, without the use of thought, feeling, sensation and perception, without reference to memory of anything known before, in the absence of this very voice, Look to see if anything is missing from now. And this direct experience is the knowing. There is a knowing quality to the experience. We know we are experiencing that which the word emptiness points to. It's empty of objects. We can't even finally give nothing a name. It is no things. There are no things in the stillness. If we entertain this invitation and develop an interest in periods of such stillness, we realize the periods are in fact spent thinking, feeling, sensing and perceiving, and not in silence or stillness. That the stillness is undivided, inseparable. It is self-luminous, aware. It is the peace that passes all mental understanding. And to realize, to recognize this absolute truth, not egoic partial truth, to realize this absolute truth to ourselves, for ourselves, to have the recognition of our true nature. We realize we have only ever been engaged in one activity. Everything we've done has been to bring about the experience of what we already are. We become, in this way, self-aware. And it might take time for the puzzles and the patterns of the mental pathways to rest more securely in the unknowing. We develop a relationship with paradox and mystery and not knowing, not needing control, having no interest in esteem or the absence of it. We know what we know, and we realize and embody the experience that there's no person or personality that knows it. Knowing is knowing itself. Awareness is self-aware. And again, to use religious language, God is simply knowing God. And there is an apparent contracted sense of that energy that we used to call, or might still call, me. But we're much less interested in the plans and programs of how this all is or what it all means to me. We realize and embody what is as it is. You are the one in whom your thoughts appear and disappear. Our predicament is that we feel we are made real by the thoughts that rise and fall, and often at first do not know who we are in their absence. A personality and every effort to perfect or escape it do not exist and cannot be found without thoughts that come and go. But you're already complete, already divine, undivided, unbroken, untarnished, true self that you have always been, has never once come nor gone. And this approach is the offer, an invitation for you to invest in the space you are and not try to perfect the story and the concepts of who your thoughts say you are or would have you be. Yes, and thank you.